Hey everybody, it's Allie. Hope you're having a good day. This is a video to do a little bit of energy for September, the September Soul Channel report. As some of you may remember, there's a lot of strong energy in this part of the year for those of us who have followed this work, because we did the 30-day adventure for quite a while as well. So I wanted to do a video today to share some of the energy that's coming through about September, about this month. I also wanted to let you know, if you're a Clubhouse person, I do a monthly Clubhouse where we open the Akashic Records of September. We go deep into like an hour powerful group healing, and I also do live Q&A and live readings. I know video is great. We all love video, but I love doing audio only as well, because you can put on your headphones and get really deep into the energy. So I wanted to let you know I'll be doing one of those tomorrow on Clubhouse. I'll put the link below, and that'll be tomorrow at 12 Eastern. So we'll be doing that tomorrow with the audio, and we'll get deeper into the energy together there. But let's do a little visual sort of work together today. So, hey Jen. So where should we start? Well, first of all, I know I haven't done a video here from Florida. So just a quick life update. I moved to St. Petersburg, Florida, which is on the west coast of Florida. I started getting the message that this was going to be where I should move about a year and a half ago, and it was really it's awesome. It's a beautiful city. I have some great friends here. There's a lot of really interesting art and a lot of people moving here, so a lot of interesting art, a lot of interesting ideas. It's like definitely a new creation time here for me and for a lot of people who are here. It was very confronting to get a strong message to move to Florida, because I was pretty clear on like really never wanting to come back to Florida. Some of you may know that my brother had moved to Miami Beach like about 7 weeks before he passed, and I had taken a red eye from LA and helped him move in and spent some really special time with him in Miami, and kind of everyone of his close sort of inner circle ended up coming down and visiting him. And then he passed unexpectedly, and so I was down in Miami for a couple months handling things there, and then he had just set up his whole place, and all of a sudden we were, having to move it out under the saddest possible circumstances. And I had to take this, it was a very special adventure, but then my mom and I had to take this like crazy road trip with his car and everything he owned, and we were going back on this auto train. I don't know if anyone's ever done an auto train, but we had to take this auto train with all of his things from Florida back to like DC, and then drive to New York from there. And it was so hot and it was so sad. And I remember being on the train, and it was like they sit you at these little dining tables with different people, and we were sitting with this woman who was like, let's go around and share, why are we all on this train? And it was just like a real rough one. There's some special memories attached to the road trip, but I remember saying on the train, like, I hate Florida. I'm never coming back to Florida. I'm never taking this train again. This was the worst road trip of my life. And then, I tried to move back to I went to Chicago and did some healing there. And that was really in fall of 2020. I got the message from my guides when I opened the records, like, hey, enjoy Chicago, but you'll be moving to Florida. And I kept hearing the city, St. Petersburg. And I was just like, no, definitely not. But sure enough, it's where I was supposed to be when I was ready to be with the reality of that. And it was I realized, so of course I'm back on that freaking auto train, the traumatic auto train. 2 years later, I'm suddenly on the auto train, and I realize it's the 2-year anniversary of having been on that train the opposite direction, coming back with all of Gabe's stuff. Yeah, making peace with Florida. And, I realized I'm still following the thread of why I'm supposed to be here. I know that it's beautiful, it's healing. There's some wonderful people from my past and from Gabe's past that we are getting to reorient to who we are now, and creating a mature, and we're going to talk about maturity today, actually, creating a new level of maturity in our relationships with each other, I'm living in like a beautiful luxury building, living in the most mature way and putting more energy and resources towards my lifestyle than I ever have before. All my energy and resources, my whole adult life really went towards business and healing and personal growth and evolution of all of those things. And then there's a certain point where the evolution, you have to kind of change up the way you're investing. And so for some people, I know it's a huge life change to finally allow themselves to invest in healing or personal growth or coaching of some sort. That's all I'd ever done. So for me, the big edge has been really putting some resource and energy and tension on like just my home and my nest, and really feathering the nest and having a very luxurious sort of space. So I'm enjoying it. I really felt that portal as I took the train back in this direction. And I'm following a thread of something that Gabe clearly laid down for me in some way. And so I'm just seeing what's happening, but I'm certainly, it certainly involved allowing the maturity, allowing an evolution of where things were and what my story was before, and allowing myself to come back as a new person, as a more developed and more mature person. I noticed on the full moon a few weeks ago that energy strongly when I tapped in was like, we're being asked to mature and show up in a new way. And we're being asked to kind of allow our relationships to mature. The last couple years obviously didn't just transform me, they transformed everyone. We've all had our own experience of loss and change, and who are we when we don't get what we want, and who are we when we have space to just be who we are without without exterior relationships really guiding our understanding of ourselves. And so we've gotten our time to sort of have that and freak out. And then, you know, life is heavy. It's okay to slow down and let it be heavy, because it feels like we're constantly, especially right now, being given opportunities to be impacted and to grieve and to sift through and to be touched and have our heart open and almost sometimes simultaneously be disappointed. There's a lot of calling out of behavior. So there's people in the public eye who we think we're supposed to be inspired by or transformed by, and it's like almost as quickly, it's like, hey, guess what they did? And let's, you know, take them off the pedestal. So there's just a lot happening right now, and it's really our time to remember, to witness, to go through, but also to show up in a more mature way. When we're showing up in an immature way, what that really means is we're showing up in a way that's not fully developed, right? And is a little more reactive and a little bit more based on our own stuff. At this point, it's our time to really sift through and take stock of who we are now, and really acknowledge what we've been through and what we've digested in this time, and maybe show back up to similar situations. Maybe this is the first time your kids are going back to school, or you're going back to your office, or you're going back to a different, to your relationship in a different way. This is really our opportunity to let it be heavy, because life is heavy right now, but to show up in a more mature way. I also had this experience over the weekend where some of you might remember Dynamic Duo Wellness. That was my business with Aaron. Hey, James. When I first started out in this world like 15 years ago, Aaron and I moved to Chicago together, and it was like, we're unstoppable. We're going to have this whole thing working and up and running. And we were in such devotion to this business we were creating. And we had a lot of some of you may remember, we were just scrappy. We had the storefront, and we were doing whatever we had to do the storefront. And Aaron brought this Vespa to Chicago, and we were literally riding through the snow of Chicago on a Vespa with pots and pans for different, nutrition events we were doing. And it was a lot of fun and very adventurous, and really gave us a lot of interesting opportunities. But ultimately, it wasn't really sustainable long-term to work together in that way. And we were talking about it over the weekend because we're still great friends, and we still both do this work and are both practitioners. And she came to visit me, and it was like a great opportunity to really process the origins of our work as as practitioners, 10 and 15 years ago. And I just was able to really see, like, we had the maturity now to see some of the things that I thought were like, oh, we're not working hard enough, or yes, this was a great opportunity, but we failed here. It was just like a lack of maturity, of not understanding that you don't have it all figured out when you're 23 or 24. You can't possibly have the scale of what we were trying to do without some of the life experiences we were actually having at that time to mature us into those women that could create the sort of businesses and programs that we were trying to do then before having had those experiences. And so I just spent a lot of my 20s being really, or 38 or 37, I'm 37, so I get it. I spent a lot of my 20s just being so hard on myself and so high pressure and so sure I wasn't doing enough or doing it right, or it was supposed to be more grandiose than it was. And it's been in this time after, the tragedy of Gabe and just the things I had to do to handle that, and moving here, and the COVID time of reflection we've all had, I've gotten a chance to really digest a lot of the pressure I put on myself and others, and really have more trust and be able to show up to relationships and opportunities with more maturity, just because I've had more time for development. And so I encourage you to this may be a time you want to sort of sift through some experiences. I know for me, a lot of this is coming up because now I'm here in Florida, and 5 years ago at this time, I had just moved to Venice, and it was like full throttle then. I don't know if any of us ever mature, but yeah, maybe 45's the ticket for me. I definitely feel some difference. It's cool to be in your late 30s because I feel like you finally have some maturity that's not just being an old soul, but actual chronological years of life. So I'm enjoying it. But I'm really feeling like this is our time to let it be heavy and sift through what's happened already. And for me, it's like, okay, I remember getting dropped in Venice 5 years ago and being like, this is it. And this is my next level of full throttle. And I got to do a lot of really awesome things personally and professionally. But it also was me getting ready to be in like the darkest cycle of my life as well. And now here I am, rising from the ashes again, starting a new chapter in a new city again, reconnecting with people, connecting with new people, getting ready to actually bring back my Akashic Records teaching, and I've been working with people kind of in my little mountain over here, but really getting ready to be out there more again. And it's really an opportunity to say, what have I actually matured past? Like, where have I developed where I don't need this pattern anymore, and I don't need this neuroses anymore, and I don't need to grip here anymore? Who am I actually now? What's interesting for me now? And so I know for me and for some of my clients I've been working with, it's been important to do things we haven't done in a while, or maybe ever, like being more creative, or if you're usually in a creative place, what's a linear, practical thing that could help you understand yourself? What's a relationship you haven't connected with in a while? It's really cool or maybe a trip if that's possible for you. It's a really cool experience to kind of pop yourself into something you haven't done in a while, or that's new to you right now, and actually just see how you've developed and how you've matured. Because clearly it's going to take a new level of maturity to move through this portal we're in right now altogether collectively. We've gotten very polarized. And a good friend of mine said something so important to me the other day, which was like, I spent a lot of my years being worried about the how, not even the what, and what he said to me the other day is this: it's not the how, it's not even the what, it's the why. And I was like, damn, yes, it's time to like mature my development and even my spiritual development into going beyond what we've done creatively before. And a lot of what I've done creatively before with spirit really had to do with security and safety and being in service in the way that I am here to be in service. But I'm ready to kind of go beyond the security, because what is security anymore for any of us, right? Like, what is the blueprint to security or safety? I'd like to begin to evolve past that and really mature into a new, more creative relationship with the Akasha and with my spiritual practice. That's one for me. But I'm just curious if this maybe lights up for you. Like, what's an evolution you're ready for now that you've been through some of the craziest years that'll go down in history, way beyond this time? What have you evolved past? You're about to re-enter some of the relationships and structures that you were in before all this happened 2 years ago. What have you matured into? What have you evolved past? And does your why need an update? Because I feel like we're in a lot of polarized what with each other right now. There's a lot of polarized what and how. This is how it has to happen. This is how it has to be done. The frequency is basically the same on both sides, and there's a lot of fear about the how, and if our side is going to have control of the how. And there's a lot of being positive. This anxiety and fear and trouble is because of this what. And I'm wondering if, like me, you may also relate to realizing, like, I may have forgotten the why. Yeah, Erin and I were having a lot of fun with that question over the weekend. It's like, why am I doing this? If security and safety and accolades is not it, if knowing I'm safe because people are happy with me and they feel impacted by me, if like that's not it anymore, if safety and security isn't it anymore, if needing to project my stuff onto someone isn't it anymore because I've matured past that, because when we're in a mature relationship, we can give space for everybody's process. We're not threatened by other people's processes anymore, because in maturity, we're so grounded in a reference point that knows, like, life has cycles and this cycle is not the one. And this person's process is not the one that takes me out. If it's not about that anymore, what is the why? Why am I in this relationship? Why am I doing this? Why am I putting pressure on this? Why? What do I think is going to happen? Like, what is the why that makes being divisive, being polarized, being afraid, being angry? Like, it may be important, but like, what is my why? Am I actually connected to my own why? Or have I gripped on to someone else's why? Like, that, I think, is a really important one right now, because I think it's very easy right now to suddenly be in someone else's why and to be speaking from this level of like experience without being honest that this is not our experience. This is not our research. This is not our why necessarily. So let's just take a breath here and just like maybe reconnect to that. And maybe put a hand on your heart, one on the belly. We'll just do a little energy here. And just to remind you, I'm doing a clubhouse tomorrow at 12 if you want to go deeper and to like get the headphones in and while out in the energy with me. But let's just take a breath here and allow yourself to connect with the thing, the what and the how that you've been putting the most pressure on right now. Just invite it to come into this safe space. We're calling in all the guides and guardians of the Akasha. We're calling in our own higher selves. We're calling in a very loving, compassionate space. We're calling in a process that can support us. We're calling in our own maturity. How about that? Maybe we don't always call that in. Maybe we kind of sometimes table it. So I invite you to just actually call in your actual maturity, your authentic maturity for handling this moment. Sometimes we don't even realize, I'm sure you know, it's like when you're in it, it's hard to even realize how far you've come. It's really important to have people around us who can acknowledge and celebrate. We're not really taught to celebrate any maturity milestones besides graduation, buying a house, getting married, having kids, promotion, right? But those are just five maturity milestones, but like there's a million little ones that are at the actual evolution that are part of those milestones that may maybe are separate from those milestones. And if those aren't milestones you've had before, it doesn't mean you haven't been evolving and maturing. We just don't live in a culture that really knows how to recognize the other milestones. Some of the milestones are really sad and tragic, and people kind of are like, ooh, like maybe we don't want to call that a milestone, but anything that changes us, impacts us, and creates maturity in us is a milestone to celebrate. So first of all, call in the maturity that all of the good and hard and intense milestones of your whole life, but certainly the last 2 years, call in the maturity you've actually received from that. And maybe you haven't acknowledged those things as milestones. Maybe you haven't acknowledged that some of what you've gone through created maturity, not just trauma, not just disappointment, not just depression or hardship. Maybe you haven't realized it's actually evolved you and blossomed you and matured you like a beautiful fine wine. So breathe that in. Bring in the actual maturity that you've created and that you deserve to claim in this moment. Breathe that in. Exhaling out, let that move through the whole body. Let it move through your nervous system. Let it ground through your feet. Feel the shoulders lightening. Feel your ability to connect with the people in your life and the relationships in your life differently, the way a mature person can connect and relate with people differently. And now invite that what or that how that's really been pressing on you. And feel, what I feel around us is almost like bumpers, like when you're bowling and there's like those bumpers, so like really nothing can get in the lane. Like I just sort of feel like there's a new level of boundary, there's a new level of trust that comes from maturity, that comes from digesting. And so now bring the how or the what that's been putting a lot of pressure, that you've been putting a lot of pressure on yourself, that you've been very serious about. And maybe it's a very serious thing, but bring it in. And come into the heart. And when you have the what or the how here, stay really connected to your heart. Drop your consciousness into your heart. Rest in your heart for a couple breaths. Good. Bring that into the root, base of the spine. Good. Ground that through the feet. Good. And now just ask yourself, why is this so hard for me? And just have compassion the way a mature person can have compassion, can have boundaries, but compassion for what's brought to them. And now you're going to ask yourself, why can't I trust my well-being with this? And have compassion for this. And then understand that there is well-being, like where there's illness, there's medicine. And I mean that in every way. Where there's a question, there's an answer. Where there's a problem, there's a solution. One of the last things my brother said to me is like, being hard on myself about something at that point, probably with whatever business. And he was just like, you're not the problem, you're the solution. And that is actually what maturity is not getting triggered by a problem and not seeing yourself as the problem. Really understanding, even if you are being problematic, understanding in this moment you can receive the energy of the solution and just be the solution. And so just breathe that in and maybe ask yourself, like, why haven't I received the frequency of solution? And see if you can be ready to do that now. And now just breathe that in. Breathe in the frequency of solution, of resolution, of trust. Breathe that in. Beautiful. Bring that into your heart and relax the whole body. And now I'm just going to invite you to just ask the general why. It's like, what is my why right now? And does my why, if my why is really connected to not feeling capable or worthy or deserving, if my why is kind of like a crunchy why where it's like just immediate baseline safety, am I ready for a more mature why? Am I ready for a more expansive why? And just breathe that in. And now just feel the maturity that you're actually in after all you've moved through and processed and handled, really acknowledging where you are now. And just invite the more evolved next level why. And when you have that more evolved, more next level why, notice that it doesn't require anyone to be any sort of way with you. It doesn't require anyone to agree with you. Notice how safe your why is. Notice that you can protect your own why. The reason, why are you here? Why are you in these relationships? Why are you called to this right now? Breathe that in. And in maturity, we just know, like, that's ours. It doesn't really matter what's going on with everyone else. Because if we aren't grounded in our own mature why, it's like we don't have any business relating with it. Like, there's only so much we can do with everybody else. This has to be solid first. And just making sure this is really, your why. Hey, Avi. And just the last message I wanted to share that came through for the records when I knew I was going to share this is, if you can't feel your body and its purpose for your life, so if you can't feel your why, if after this you can't feel it, or if during this you haven't been feeling it, the message is just that you deserve to know your why. You deserve to be really clear on a more evolved why than just people liking you and feeling accepted and, whatever the story is of whatever. But you deserve to really know your full body purpose for this time in your life. And it doesn't have to be some grand thing that involves a million people. It can be really small and kind, because the truth is usually very simple and kind and easy. You deserve to have that. And so the message is just really to slow down and get heavy, because life is heavy. It's okay to slow down, let it be heavy, and just, let yourself process what's here and where you really are now. And so taking some breaths, and I see someone saying, considering working with me. So yeah, I'd love to. I'm really like coming back on to the scene with work. So I know some people have been working with me. I'm really ready to be expanding and maturing that. And I'll be bringing in the Akashic Records and some other programs. So more coming. Feel free to DM me if you do have a question. And then I just want to share this painting I did yesterday. When I opened the records, I shared it on my stories. But this was also just kind of the image that I felt connected to this. And so maybe just take a breath, maybe notice what you see. I hope you can hear me behind the paper. And you're welcome, Jill. Just let yourself float, let yourself breathe. Let yourself kind of get out of the grip of the how and the what. Let yourself reconnect to your own actual why. that is yours, not someone else's. Everyone has a purpose in this moment. There's no one here right now that doesn't have something special to experience, and to, after you finally experience it and receive, to share. So we just know that whatever we've needed to clear was cleared, whatever we needed to bring in, we brought in. And great to connect with you guys again in this way. Hope you have a great rest of your week. And if you have Clubhouse, I'll put the link. Join me tomorrow at 12. And all right, I think that's it. See you soon.